In professional wrestling, retirements are never the end for a wrestler's career, as they can always have one more match, whether it be due to not going out on their own terms or being offered truckloads of cold hard cash. Welcome to Wrestlespy, and here are 10 wrestling comebacks that never should have happened. Number 10. A-Train's return as L Tensai in 2012. After leaving the WWE in 2004, A-Train, real name Matt Bloom, had a good run in All Japan Pro Wrestling and New Japan Pro Wrestling, where he would wrestle as Giant Bernard, winning tag team gold with Carl Anderson. His success ultimately caught the attention of WWE, where someone in the creative department looked at him and thought, he looks Japanese enough, and brought him back in 2012 as L Tensai. This is one of the perfect examples where WWE insulted the intelligence of their viewers, as they were trying to sell us the fact that this is a completely new character and no one knew who he was. Even Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler on commentary were trying to act a fool in his debut versus Alex Riley. The gimmick was dead in the water the first time he took off his mask and helmet to reveal a face-tattooed A-Train, as the fans immediately recognizing him, even getting an Albert chant in an episode of Raw. It's crazy to think WWE could have saved themselves this headache by just acknowledging that he was the former A-Train. Number 9. Bret Hart returning to WWE in 2010. The Hitman's return in 2010 started off pretty well, being introduced as a special guest host ahead of the broadcast. The fans were eagerly awaiting the return of the legend. Look at those shorts though. Bret had a heartfelt promo in this January episode of Monday Night Raw, where he addressed why he wasn't back the years prior and called Shawn Michaels to the ring, where the on and off screen rivals buried the hatchet. If this is where it ended and Bret proceeded to have special appearances here and there, it would have widely regarded as a successful return, but it's on this list for a reason. Booking Bret Hart to have a program with Vince McMahon that would ultimately conclude in that year's WrestleMania. Watching the match back, it was clear that Bret was a shell of his former self, and going up against Vince, who wasn't a wrestler and couldn't carry a match. It's a shame that this is the last match we'll get to see from the former excellence of execution. Number 8. British Bulldog in 1999. The British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith returned to the WWF in 1999 after a brief stint in WCW. This return never should have happened due to the changing landscape in professional wrestling at the time. The Attitude Era was in full swing during this time. The British Bulldog can be seen as vanilla compared to stars on the roster at the time like The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin. It didn't help that Bulldog was also suffering from nagging back problems, which limited his in-ring work and further sunk his place in the card. He would go on to win the European title in the latter part of his return, but for some fans remembering Bulldog as the highly technical wrestler of the past, this was a huge disappointment. Number 7. Kevin Nash returns to spoil the summer of Punk 2011. Although I was tempted to put Nash's return in 2002 here, that return mostly sparked nostalgia, forming the old world order, and was stained by multiple injuries to Nash, which derailed storylines. Him not being reliable due to these injuries led to WWE not renewing his contract in 2004. He then went on to TNA for the better part of the decade. After his run in TNA, Nash would shock the WWE Universe by entering as his Diesel persona in the 2011 Royal Rumble match. This wouldn't be the last appearance by Kevin Nash in WWE TV, however. At that year's SummerSlam, Kevin Nash attacked CM Punk after Punk won the undisputed WWE Championship, which led to Alberto Del Rio cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase on Punk. This would be the point of where the fans turned on a returning Nash, as CM Punk was white hot during this period, and fans wanted him to have a lengthy run with the belt, not have a storyline with two members of the Clique. Nash would then go on to have a forgettable feud with Triple H and leaving the company short after. Number 6. Ultimate Warrior. All of them. The Ultimate Warrior was a huge star for the WWF in the 80s and early 90s, often close if not on the same level as Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage. He would have multiple bad returns, however, due to bad booking or Warrior's own ego. The first return would come in 1992, where he received a huge pop for coming to the aid of Hulk Hogan being teamed up on by Sid Vicious and, a very late, Papa Shango at WrestleMania 8. His 1992 left fans scratching their heads, as he had a storyline with Papa Shango where the witch doctor was casting a spell on the Warrior, causing him to be ill and vomit. He also had a brief tag team with Randy Savage, but Warrior's ego clashed with the CEO Vince McMahon after disagreeing about compensation. This then led to the Warrior being released. The Ultimate Warrior would be dormant after getting released in 1992, but he would resurface in 1996 where he refused to have a competitive match with Triple H, then known as Hunter Hearst Helmsley. It turned into a squash and also involved Warrior no-selling Helmsley's pedigree. He would then go on confusing feuds with Goldust and Jerry the King Lawler, but then ultimately butt heads with Vince again, leading to another release. His worst return, however, would come in the form of the late 1998 return in WCW. Debuting in an episode of Nitro, he had a long-winded promo which took away the excitement of the moment. This would not be the end of it though, as Warrior and his One Warrior Nation would go on to feud with Hollywood Hogan and the NWO, which culminated in one of the most infamous matches of all time at Halloween Havoc 1998 against Hollywood Hogan. If you like slow old men throwing fireballs at each other, this is a match for you. Number 5. WWE ECW. A bit of a cheat here, but this is on our list. Deal with it. If this was left alone as a one-off with a one-night stand pay-per-view, it could be seen as a success, but WWE saw the nostalgia of the event and thought to themselves, you know what's extreme? PG-TV. WWE ECW has got to be one of the most squandered opportunities in wrestling. Yet there was a market for hardcore wrestling at the time, but to be branded as extreme only in theory but not in practice was not the way to go. It started off pretty well with 2005 and 2006 one-night stand pay-per-views, but it quickly went downhill from there. A lot have contributed to the fall of WWE ECW. Among these are losing Paul Heyman due to creative differences, WWE punishing RVD and stripping him of the title due to marijuana use, not enough ECW Legends originals, WWE superstars from Raw and SmackDown being transferred to the brand and being rejected by the ECW faithful, and of course Vince McMahon as ECW champion. It's a huge missed opportunity that leaves fans wondering if they just left it in that Philadelphia ballroom. Number 4. Batista returning as a face in 2014. Boo! Oh, apologies, I thought we were still booing Batista for this. The Animal's return in 2014 is still seen as one of the most mishandled returns in wrestling to this day. Batista's return was announced ahead of his January 20th appearance where he confronted Randy Orton and The Authority. Right off the bat, this gave fans a bad feeling because at the time no one wanted an Orton vs Batista main event for WrestleMania 30. Everyone was all in on Daniel Bryan getting that spot. Batista was being presented as the hero that came back to overthrow The Authority, and everyone saw right through WWE's plans. Everyone knows about the infamous 2014 Royal Rumble where it ended with Batista standing tall being serenaded with a chorus of boos. This would have been tremendous heat if they just presented Batista as a heel coming back from Hollywood and taking Daniel Bryan's spot. Number 3. The Undertaker after WrestleMania 33. Although the Boneyard match versus AJ Styles at WrestleMania 36 was a fitting end to the dead man's career, one would think that losing at WrestleMania 33 to Roman Reigns would have been equally cathartic. Going into WrestleMania, fans did not know how the match was going to go. Would The Undertaker have one more great match in him and put over the wrestler that the Machine was pushing as the guy for years now? Or would this be a slugfest where Roman would do the heavy lifting for a much older Taker? It would sadly be the latter, however, with the visibly out-of-shape Undertaker being gassed minutes into the match and failing on multiple occasions to lift up Roman. This match had no reason being close to 30 minutes long this late into Undertaker's career. Painfully, Roman would end it with a spear, and The Undertaker would leave his hat, his robe, and his gloves in the middle of the ring, seemingly retiring. Then he would return for a squash match versus Cena at Mania 34 and participate in one of the worst tag matches of all time, which we'll get to at the end of this list. What the f***, WWE? Number 2. Ric Flair in TNA. I'm sorry. I love you. One of the greatest lines and moments in professional wrestling. These words were uttered by Shawn Michaels before delivering a sweet chin music to Ric Flair in his last career-threatening match at WrestleMania 24. This was poetry in motion and would have been a great send-off to one of wrestling's greats. In 2010, however, Ric Flair, still wanting to wrestle, signed with TNA. He would have had a lengthy run in TNA starting off as a manager, but Ric Flair being Ric Flair, he could not stay away from the ring. He wrestled the likes of Hulk Hogan, Abyss, and Jeff Hardy to name a few, and was even part of the Fortune and Immortal factions where he was regularly featured on TNA TV. At the time of writing, Ric Flair isn't done giving the wrestling world anxiety attacks as he wrestled in Ric Flair's Last Match, a pay-per-view that was promoted as his last match in the year of our Lord 2022. And right now he's still throwing chops in AEW. Number 1. Shawn Michaels' return at Crown Jewel 2018. Why, Shawn? Why? Okay, sorry about that. Shawn Michaels was the role model of how to do retirement matches. Go out on top and stay retired while leaving the audience wanting more. The Heartbreak Kid's former last match was against The Undertaker at WrestleMania 26 in a career versus streak match. This 30-minute classic sent off Shawn into retirement for 8 years, and fans never thought we would see Shawn wrestling ever again because of how perfect it was. And Shawn himself stated on multiple occasions that he did not have an inkling on wrestling again. Then came Crown Jewel 2018, where everyone was offered money they couldn't refuse. Such individuals were our favorite uncles D-Generation X, who reunited for the 8th billionth time to take on our other favorite uncles from parts unknown, the Brothers of Destruction. This match was cursed. From Kane getting unmasked on a top rope spot and Triple H legitimately tearing his pectoral muscle and everything in between. This slow and bald Shawn Michaels was not the Shawn Michaels we saw falling on his sword 8 years prior. Disagree with what we said in this video? Go one-on-one with us down in the comments.